basically I was doing my research on you, YOU, and what that means in the code, because when you go to court, when the IRS contacts you, they start talking about you owe a debt. You. Well, who is you? And in 20 CFR Code of Federal Regulations 422.402, it tells you who you is. And as I'm looking here, I'm at that it says what special definitions apply to this subpart. And where I'm coming from is sub letter E. Now, when you read these definitions, just keep in mind that when you see we or our, according to this subpart, what we're reading from, means the Social Security Administration. We, our, or us means Social Security Administration. That's in D. Letter D is in David. And E is an elephant. It says you means an individual who owes a debt to the United States within the scope of this subpart. So I'm just, sharpening my iron if I can. Use that particular phrase there and then go into, because I like Cornell Law, because Cornell Law allows hyperlinking. And you can click, and a hyperlink just means the letter is blue with an underline through under it. And it'll take you to a different definition. I wanted to see what they were talking about what debt means. So here, debt means any amount of money or property that we determine is owed to the United States and that arises from a program that we administer or an activity that we perform. These debts include program overpayments made under Title II or Title 26 of the Social Security Act and any other debt that meets the definition of claim or debt at 31 United States Code 3701B. So then we say, okay, well, let's go there real quick. Let's see what it says in 31. Because in 31 USC, keeping in mind that that's the Money and Finance Code, part of the code, 31. So going into, again, Cornell Law, one of my faves, 31 USC 3701, definitions and application. In this subchapter, number 1, administrative offset means withholding funds payable by the United States, including funds payable by the United States on behalf of a state government, to or held by the United States for a person to satisfy a claim. All of the debt of the United States that exists, people talk about HGR 192 and it's being repealed and all of that. Okay, cool. But then you have the Negotiable Instruments Act, the the Security Exchange Act, the Bills of Exchange Act. All of these acts all go off of Chapter 11 bankruptcy, because the United States is in Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and we're talking about the United States as in by definition. When you look that up, I can't think of it off top, but it's the United States definition. I think it's something 001, but somebody will correct if we put this out. Somebody will let us know what that is. I could do it now, but that's not the scope of this particular discussion. But administrative offset. So for a person to satisfy a claim, you have to perform an administrative offset, because the United States is withholding funds payable. Payable to who? You. Right? So let's go back to you again. You means an individual who owes a debt. So the United States is, and when we say the United States, we're also talking about the corporations, LLCs, the job you work for, federal withholding. It talked about withholding. Administrative offset means withholding funds payable by the United States. You owe a debt to the United States because you haven't done an administrative offset to release the funds withheld by the United States or one of its agencies, and you just sitting waiting on them to tell you that you got to pay a federal income tax when there's no word or no definition of income for the word employee. When you go look up the definition of employee, and that's at 26 Code of Federal Regulations 31.3401C. So employee. But an employee don't get paid income. An employee is remunerated or compensation. You can't even call for wages, because when you start talking about Tom Schaaf, the master CPA, he talked about there is no line for companies to pay employees called wages. So a fundamental error exists in the accounting. But when you're in a double bookkeeping entry system, it doesn't matter about whether or not you as an employee don't have a categorization in the budget to be paid wages or income. Go look up the definition of income. You don't make income. That's the falseness of this. You get compensation or profit or revenue, right? And the revenue would be through some type of corporation. But again, debt means any amount of money or property that we determine. And remember, we, us, our means the Social Security Administration. So the Social Security Administration, for the sake of this subpart, is saying that funds are being withheld by the United States because you haven't done the administrative offset that it talks about in 20 CFR subsection 422.402. Oh, you know what? No, let me strike that. That was 31, Title 31, United States Code, subsection 3701, definitions and applications. And again, our administrative offset, the withholding funds payable by the United States. These funds are supposed to come to you. That's why you can't be denied for these benefits, for exercising your right and all of this. You don't have income, you have compensation. So I just thought that this was a pretty cool little research situation where I wasn't anticipating actually putting this together for myself. But it's definitely a talk that I'm going to talk about on this next event that I shared with you with CCN TV and Bobby J Photography on the 20th of March, and that's 2024. So I'm going to talk about the you and the yous, meaning the different forms of you, YOU, and what that means and why your funds are being withheld because you haven't satisfied a claim through your person by way of an administrative offset. Your notary is your best friend. Get one or hit me in the DM. Listen.